2 years passed before my father brought someone home. Her name was Evelyn, a nurse with calm eyes and steady hands. She smiled when she met me, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her perfume smelled like jasmine, too sweet, too careful. Dad called her kind, said she made him laugh again. I said nothing, just nodded, pretending to agree. That night, her laughter echoed down the hallway, sharp and new. It didn't fit the house, not yet. By morning, one of Mom's vases was gone from the shelf. A week later, the curtains in the living room were replaced. The floral pattern she'd sewn herself disappeared without a word. Evelyn said the old ones were faded, that the sunlight ruined them. I didn't argue. I wrote it down in my notebook instead. February 3rd, curtains changed, another piece gone. The changes came quiet at first, like footsteps in another room. Then faster. Mom's recipe cards vanished from the kitchen drawer. Her favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle, disappeared next. When I asked, Evelyn said she'd decluttered. She said too many things made the house feel heavy. Heavy, that word stayed in my chest all night. I opened my locket before bed and whispered into the photo inside. She would have understood. I was 11, too young to stop it, too old to ignore it. Dad seemed lighter with Evelyn around. He hummed while he cooked, though he never used Mom's pans anymore. He called her Eve, soft like a secret. Sometimes I caught him watching me, uncertain, as if torn between us. He never mentioned Mom's name again. The garden changed last. Her roses, soft, wild, alive, were pulled out one weekend. Evelyn planted marigolds in neat, perfect rows. She said order was healing. I watched from my window, hands pressed to the glass. The smell of soil made my throat ache. Later, I saw her dust the mantel where Mom's picture used to stand. The nail remained, empty and silent. I touched my locket again, feeling its pulse against my skin. Each thing she removed, I wrote down. March 12th, garden replaced, roses gone. April 2nd, picture removed, nail left behind. The notebook filled quickly, my handwriting sharper each day. It became a record, a secret defense. Dad never noticed the missing things. Or maybe he noticed and pretended not to. Grief makes people blind in strange ways. Evelyn kept smiling through it all. She rearranged rooms like rewriting a story that wasn't hers. I stayed quiet, memorizing every change. Sometimes she'd touch my shoulder, call me sweetheart. Her touch felt light, but her eyes searched for approval. I learned to smile the way she did, without meaning it. The house began to smell different. Not of bread or roses or warm dust, but of lemon polish and something artificial. Every night, I opened my notebook, turned a new page and wrote. Each line was proof that my mother once lived here. Each word was a promise that I would not forget. Dinner that night felt rehearsed, like a play we'd all forgotten the lines to. Dad wore his new tie, the one Evelyn had chosen. She served overcooked chicken and smiled too much. The tablecloth was new, pale blue instead of white. Mom's old one had been too stained, Evelyn said. I cut my food into neat squares, pretending to eat. Dad talked about work, his promotion, the new office. Evelyn nodded, poured him wine, laughed at the right times. Her laugh was soft, practiced, almost professional. Then she reached across the table and touched my hand. Her fingers were cool, her nails perfect, polished pale pink. You know, Nora, she said, her tone light, almost tender. I'm your real mom now. The words hit like glass breaking inside my chest. Dad's fork froze halfway to his mouth. He didn't look up. He didn't say a word. The silence stretched until the clock ticked louder than breath. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. Her smile didn't waver. It was calm, confident, final. I pulled my hand back and placed it in my lap. The locket at my throat felt suddenly heavy, burning hot. I said nothing. She went back to her meal as if nothing had happened. Dad cleared his throat, murmured something about dessert. I excused myself before my voice could break. Upstairs, my room smelled like old paper and dust. I opened my drawer where I kept the Lockets box. Empty. The velvet pouch lay open, mouth gaping like a wound. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. I checked the desk, the floor under the bed. Nothing. The space where it used to rest looked too clean. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the blank spot. No tears came. Only a slow, cold realization. She had taken it, or hidden it, or decided it didn't belong anymore. Downstairs, laughter floated through the vents, Evelyn's voice, bright and hollow. Dad laughed too, quieter, forced. I opened my notebook and wrote the date. July 18th, the locket is gone. The pen didn't shake this time. Each letter came out sharp, even. I closed the notebook and stared at the wall where Mom's picture once hung. The empty nail caught the light, a single point of memory. I whispered to it like a prayer. She can't take you from me. My reflection in the mirror looked older than 11. Tired eyes, tight jaw. I didn't cry that night. I didn't tell Dad. Instead, I planned. Not revenge. Something quieter, heavier, truer. If she wanted to erase my mother, I'd make sure she couldn't. I would rebuild every memory she tried to bury. I would carry my mother in every word, every look, every heartbeat. And one day, she would see it. Not through shouting. Not through anger. But through the strength she could never touch. That was the night I stopped waiting for someone to protect me. That was the night I decided to remember louder than she could erase. The library smelled like paper and quiet. It became my refuge, a place untouched by Evelyn's order. I asked for a job there the week after the locket vanished. The manager, Mrs. Porter, looked at me through her glasses. "You're young," she said, "but your eyes look older." She hired me anyway. My first paycheck was small, folded into crisp bills. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I counted it twice, the way Mom used to count her change. At night, I kept it under my pillow like a secret. Each shift felt like breathing again. The sound of pages turning replaced the silence of our house. Mrs. Porter said I was quick, careful, steady. No one at home used those words for me anymore. After work, I sat by the window and read about goldsmiths. I wanted to know how metal could melt and still remember its shape. One afternoon, I found an old ad in the newspaper corner. William Hart, fine jewelry repair by appointment only. The name made my chest tighten. Mom had written it once in her address book. I still remembered her handwriting. Loops, curls, warmth. I took the bus after work and followed the address. His workshop was behind a white house on Elm Street. Tools lined the walls, shining under a yellow lamp. When he saw me, his eyes softened. "You're Margaret's girl," he said without asking. "She talked about you every time she came in." My voice shook. "She used to bring you coffee, didn't she?" He smiled. Always too sweet, always with a story. I reached into my pocket and pulled out Mom's old gold ring. The metal caught the light, dull but familiar. "I want to make something new," I said. "Something like the locket she gave me." He studied it, turning it in his wrinkled hands. "That can be done," he said finally. "It'll take time, though. Gold has to be patient." I nodded. "So do I." The first time the metal melted, I almost cried. It glowed alive, then cooled into something formless. Mr. Hart said, "It's still the same gold, just changed." I thought about my mother, my house, my life. Maybe I was melting too, just reshaping. Each visit, he told me stories about her. How she loved tomato plants and sunlight on glass. How she hummed while waiting for repairs. I memorized every word. The locket took weeks to finish. When he placed it in my palm, it was warm, almost breathing. Inside, he had engraved one small phrase. "For the woman who loved me first." I traced the letters with my thumb, feeling something shift inside. The past didn't feel broken anymore. It felt rebuilt. That night, I walked home under the streetlights. The locket hung around my neck, light but strong. For the first time in years, I didn't look at the empty nail. I looked forward. The metal touched my skin, whispering her name. And I whispered back, "I'm still here, Mom." The morning of the memorial arrived clear and cold. I set up chairs in the courtyard, behind the library. White lilies lined the tables, just like Mom loved. Each petal carried the scent of memory and home. People came early, faces I hadn't seen in years. Mrs. Lang from next door hugged me too tightly. "She'd be proud," she whispered, eyes shining. Old colleagues brought flowers wrapped in faded paper. Even the mailman came, holding a small card. Everyone had a story about her. I collected them like pearls, one by one. She taught me to bake. She helped me plant roses. Every word built her back into the world. At the edge of the crowd, I saw Evelyn. She sat in the last row, hands folded in her lap. Dad wasn't beside her. Something in me loosened for the first time. When I stepped up to the podium, my hands shook. But the sunlight felt warm, steadying me. I opened Mom's old journal, pages soft with age. Her handwriting curved like gentle waves. "Thank you all for coming," I began. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded older. I read her entry about the day we baked cookies. Flour everywhere, smoke alarms screaming, laughter filling the kitchen. People laughed softly, wiping their eyes. For a moment, I could almost hear her laugh again. Then I turned to the last page, written in trembling ink. She'd written about hope, forgiveness, and love that never ends. My voice cracked, but I kept reading. When I finished, the courtyard was silent. Only the wind moved through the lilies. I reached for the small velvet box on the table. Inside was the new locket, gold and warm in the sun. "This was made from her first ring," I said. "She loved beautifully, she lived honestly, and she still does." I clasped it around my neck, feeling its weight settle. Cameras clicked softly, capturing the moment. In the front row, Dad wiped his eyes for the first time. He looked older, softer, almost human again. Evelyn stared at the ground, her face unreadable. Ruth, her mother, placed a hand on her shoulder. No anger rose in me, only quiet understanding. When our eyes met, she didn't look away. For a heartbeat, something unspoken passed between us. The kind of silence that feels like truth, not absence. A breeze swept through the courtyard, lifting the ribbons. The scent of lilies drifted like forgiveness itself. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was defending Mom. I was celebrating her. And somehow, that felt stronger. After the guests left, I sat alone by the flowers. The locket was warm against my skin, like her hand once was. I whispered, "I did it, Mom, I kept you here." Somewhere, a wind chime sang softly, clear and kind. And for that single moment, I believed she was listening. 3 nights after the memorial, Dad knocked on my door. His hand trembled as he held a yellowed envelope. "She wanted you to have this," he said quietly. I recognized the handwriting before I even touched it. Mom's loops, her small circles above every eye. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. He left without another word, closing the door behind him. I sat on the bed, the paper soft under my fingers. The words on the front read, "For Nora, when the world feels too heavy." I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. Her voice filled the room before I even read it. "My brave girl, if you're reading this, I'm already gone." I stopped, my chest tightening around the silence. "Don't let missing me turn you cold," she wrote. "You've always felt too much, loved too deeply. That's not a weakness, sweetheart, it's your light." I pressed the page to my lips, tasting salt and memory. She wrote about Dad too. He'll hide his grief behind tasks and new routines. Don't mistake that for forgetting. He'll need your forgiveness, even when he can't ask for it. I cried then, for him, for her, for everything in between. Someday, she wrote, someone else will stand in front of you. They might not know how to love you the way I did. Be patient with them, even when it hurts. Love doesn't erase love, Nora. It grows. My tears fell onto the page, blurring her ink. The air in the room felt softer, lighter somehow. For the first time, I didn't feel angry anymore. Just tired and free. When I folded the letter back, I saw my reflection in the mirror. Older, but more hers than ever. Later that night, I went downstairs for water. The kitchen was dark except for the streetlight glow. On the counter sat a small wooden box. I froze. It hadn't been there before. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was the original locket. The same one she'd given me in the hospital room. It glinted faintly against the black velvet. Beneath it, a small note in Evelyn's neat handwriting. I didn't know it meant that much. 7 words. No excuses, no explanation, just truth. I sat there a long time, holding the locket and the letter. For the first time, I saw her not as a thief, but as someone lost. Someone trying too hard to belong. In that silence, I understood what Mom meant. Love doesn't end, it changes shape. I placed both lockets in my palm. The new one warm with gold and memory. The old one cool, familiar, steady. 2 stories, 1 heart. I put them both around my neck, side by side. They touched, chiming softly like a promise kept. Upstairs, I slipped Mom's letter under my pillow. Her words echoed in my head until sleep came. When morning light broke through the curtains, the world felt lighter. And for the first time, I felt ready to begin again. Autumn arrived slowly, carrying the scent of change. Evelyn and I began crossing paths without tension. Breakfasts were quiet, but no longer cold. She asked once about the book I was reading. It was my mom's favorite, I said carefully. Her eyebrows lifted, not in envy but curiosity. What else did she like to read? She asked. It was the first real question she had ever asked me. I told her about mystery novels, about Agatha Christie. She smiled faintly. Maybe you can lend me one. Something shifted between us that morning. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the start of it. Weeks passed with small gestures like that. She left me notes reminding me of library hours. I helped her color code her work calendar. She called it brilliant. I told her Mom taught me. Instead of silence, we shared small moments. The house began to breathe again. One Saturday, we sat on the porch swing. The air smelled like leaves and tea. Evelyn stared at the horizon, her cup trembling slightly. I thought I had to replace her, she said softly. To matter to you, to belong here. Her voice cracked on the last word. I touched both lockets at my throat, feeling their weight. You don't have to be her, I said. You just have to be here. Her shoulders fell, the tension dissolving like dust in light. She nodded slowly, eyes glistening but steady. Then she stood, went inside, and returned with an album. It was old, corners frayed, pages yellowed. I want to show you something, she said. Photos of a little girl filled the pages. A missing front tooth, a crooked braid, a bright smile. She was me, Evelyn whispered. Her hand traced the girl's face like a ghost. My mother left when I was 12. She didn't say goodbye, just disappeared. My father told everyone she went to Florida. But there was no aunt, no letter, nothing. Her voice was calm, but her eyes told the story. Suddenly, everything made sense. Every erased photograph. Every replaced curtain. Every flower uprooted. She'd been trying to fix her own past through mine. I closed the album and looked at her. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It was full of understanding. That night, I stood before the mirror again. The 2 lockets gleamed side by side, gold and memory. I saw my reflection, and hers in the same light. Not enemies, not replacements. Just two women learning to hold love differently. One given, one rebuilt. One lost, one found. When the wind brushed the window, both lockets chimed softly. The sound wasn't grief anymore. It was harmony. Love didn't erase what came before. It simply made room for more. And in that quiet, golden moment, I finally understood. We hadn't lost each other. We had just been waiting to be seen. 7 years later, sunlight spills through my window. My wedding dress hangs beside the mirror, pale and bright. On the dresser, two lockets rest side by side. One engraved, for the woman who loved me first. The other simply says, Mother. Dad waits outside, tie slightly crooked as always. Evelyn stands by the door, hands trembling around my veil. Would you help me with it? I ask softly. She nods, eyes shining, fingers steady and kind. When she finishes, we catch each other's gaze in the mirror. No words, just years of quiet forgiveness between us. Outside, guests gather under the afternoon light. One chair in the front row is left empty. White lilies drape across it, and her picture smiles back at me. The announcer's voice rises, calm and clear. The bride, Nora, accompanied by the mother of the bride. Evelyn gasps, covering her mouth, tears spilling freely. I walk forward, two lockets warm against my skin. Old love and new love resting together, shining as one. The world feels full again. Not divided, not broken. Just complete. Just home,